Hey friends, welcome back to Llama Mama Kayla's Yarn Tube. I'm Kayla. Thanks for stopping by and checking on me today. This is Sissy, and she is laying all in the book that I was looking at. I was going to start a project from this little book, but Sissy said, you don't need to crochet right now, you need to rest. And I'm like, oh, thank you, Sissy. I do need to just kick back and relax for a moment. And then I decided I can't look at my book to find my pattern, so I'll just chat with you guys and tell you all about the gastric emptying test that I had done today. So I had a test scheduled for this morning. I had to be there between 7:30 and 8, and I got there about 7:30. Except I did not want to go. I woke up sick all during the night. I just kept getting up and was just having a really hard time refluxing, throwing up, just, yeah, it was rough. It was a really rough night. And so, and I was so sick this morning. I told Big Daddy, I don't think I'm going to be able to go. And he's like, yes, you need to go. And I was just like, but I don't think I can. I mean, I just really felt bad. And he's like, you really need to go because you need to have that test done. Which I know, but Sassy's just looking at me like I'm telling her all this. I know I needed to go have it done, so I forced myself to get ready and go. And it was all I could do to do that. But I got there at 7:30. Got on in and got registered, and they got me right back. He must have been like waiting on me. And so he had some oatmeal prepared in a little cup, and then he had me a cup of water. And so he, asked me to look at the consistency of the oatmeal, and I had him to add a little more water. And then I looked at it again and told him to add a little bit more water because I needed it, like really runny. To be able to try to get it down my esophagus. And so he said they don't do anything through the tube for this test. You have to actually eat it, and then they watch it, So I would get just a little bit on the spoon, and he had a needle with some stuff in it that would make it like radioactive or whatever. He would put, a couple of shots of this liquid in a syringe onto my spoon, and then I would eat that. And so I ate like 3 or 4 bites, little spoons. I can't take big bites, so they were really small bites. And then he told me the faster your stomach empties, the sooner you can leave. I was like, okay. I mean, I have no control over that, but okay. And so I had to lay back on this table, and he helped me get positioned and everything. And then I had to lay there for 1 hour while the scans was going for my belly, which was fine. I actually dozed off. I felt so bad. I hadn't had any sleep, and he had me propped up really well. Like, I was comfortable, and you wouldn't think so on this little, it's a very, very narrow little, I wouldn't even say a bed or a table. It's very, very narrow, that thing that you're laying on. It's kind of like a CT scan or MRI. It's just a very narrow thing where you feel like you might fall off the sides. But I was very comfortable. He had me propped up on some, I don't know what that was, something, and then he had 2 pillows on top of that. So I was very comfortable, like I said, and I actually dozed off. He woke me up after an hour and said, you can get up now. And he said, go over to the waiting room, and in 1 hour, I'm going to bring you in and take a picture of your stomach. And I said, okay. So I did that, and in 1 hour, he come and got me. And he said, this is only going to take 1 minute to take this picture. It'll take you longer to get on the table than it will for me to take the picture. And he was right. So I got on the table, and he took the picture. And I was asking him some questions about it, but he was kind of deferring the answers. He wasn't really giving me a straight answer, you know, because I was asking him, you know, like, is it passing on through? Is it moving quickly through my system? Has it emptied my stomach? And he just kept giving me roundabout answers, which I know the people giving the test, they're not allowed to say, you know, what's going on or what any test results or anything, even though they know because they do those tests all the time. And so he just kept giving me off the wall answers that didn't make any sense because they weren't answering my questions. And then he said, okay, so go back over into the waiting room, and I'm going to look at the results, and if enough has passed by, then I'll come and tell you, and you can leave. But if I don't come over there, that means you're going to have to wait another hour for another picture. And so he never showed up. So I had to sit there for another hour, and then he came and said, okay, it's time to come back and do another picture. And so I did. And then we had to do the same thing again. We had to do the same thing again, and then go back and get another picture. And so I was there like 5 hours. Yeah, it was a long, long time. Very long. But he was so super nice. He was a very nice gentleman. Very compassionate and just very nice guy. And, you know, made sure I was comfortable and everything. I've just been really, really lucky that the hospital people that I come encounter with are just super nice. And I appreciate that so much. I feel lucky and blessed to have such caring people, you know, from the hospital. Anyway, when I finally got to leave there, I was exhausted. I called Big Daddy and told him that I'm just leaving the hospital. I am headed to Sonic to get a shake. I wanted a chocolate shake. And then I'm going home and most likely going to bed. So I went and got my shake. I sat there and drank some of it, and then drove home, drank up my shake, and I think I might have talked to my friend Angela on the phone for a moment, and then I got in the bed, actually, while I was still on the phone with her, and then I got off the phone with her, and I looked at my test results on my chart, and it said delayed emptying, it said delayed gastric emptying. And so I was like, well, I already knew that. Anyway, I called Big Daddy and told him that, and told him, you know, that I'm going to sleep right now. And so I did. I just laid my phone down and I went to sleep, and I slept for a good while. I mean, I was so exhausted, my body needed it. So I slept. And then whenever I got up, I checked my chart again. Something else had came through, and so I checked it, and it said, in all that time that I was there for that test, that my stomach only emptied 10%. Yeah, that is not good news at all. And it said it was severe, delayed gastric emptying. Now, why does everything I end up with always have severe at the front of it? I don't like that. Not at all. But yes. So, you know, I knew my stomach was slow to empty, but in 5 hours time, it only emptied 10%. That is like mind-blowing. So anyway, I haven't talked to my doctor as of yet, because I'm just reading the test results on my chart, and then she'll go over the results whenever she gets notification of them or whatever, and decide what needs to be done next. But I'm very scared that this is going to mean I'm going to have the surgical J-tube placed. So I'm very nervous about that because that's what I was trying to avoid. I don't want to have that done. And so that means that I have a G-tube into my stomach, and this means I will have a tube also into my intestines below my stomach. I'll still have the tube in my stomach because I could still get my medications through my, G-tube in my stomach, but I'd have another tube and going into my intestines, and that's where my formula would start going, so that it would just bypass my stomach all the way. My stomach feels huge. It's so bloated, and it just feels so huge. It feels like someone has a belt around me, and they're just cinching it up and cinching it tighter and tighter, and it's torture. That's the way my stomach feels like, most of the time. And then I'm nauseated, and then I'm refluxing and throwing up and just, not having a good time. Let's put it that way. So, I don't know. I am nervous about what the doctor's going to say because she's already talked about the J-tube being a possibility. Now, I've had a J-tube before, but it was part of my G-tube. Like it would be my G-tube, and then it was an extension from my G-tube that went down into my intestines. And so I had that before, and it came out, and so they stitched it in. They went in and put it in again, and they stitched it down into my intestines so that part wouldn't come out. But it did. It came out again, and then I was just like, no, let's don't do it again. Because each one of those were surgery so that they could put that down into my J-tube. So she said, the GJ tube is just not going to work for you. Even if we were to try that, it's just going to be a hassle. And, surgery after surgery, getting that in the right place, and it's just going to continue to come out and stuff. She said, so you're going to have the surgical J-tube placed. Which, there's been a lot of talk about that in the past few months with, actually since about October, there's been a lot of talk about that with me, with my doctors, and I've been trying to just ignore that and pretend like that part wasn't going to happen, but I guess I'm going to have to face the music and accept that I'm most likely going to have that. Sissy has been by my side since I got home today. She was during the night too, because she knew I was up sick and I was having a really hard time. And so Sissy is like, she's my little nurse cat that just when I'm not feeling well, she's right there beside me. Now Sassy is here right now because she is jealous that Sissy is right here. So she's going to clean Sassy's eyes and face now. Sassy is going to clean Sissy. Give her a little bath. But whenever I slept, Sissy was right there with me. Every time I woke up, rolled over, or anything, Sissy was right there. She always is just drawn to me anytime that I feel bad. Now, Sassy, she's always with me, whether I feel bad or not. She's there. But right now, she's mostly here because she's jealous that Sissy was right here. Okay, it's not bath time, okay? It's not bath time. Oh, poor little Cece. She has a hard job taking care of me. She has a hard job. They're so sweet. Yeah, I never was a cat person, but getting these two, they really turned me into a cat person. I've always considered myself a dog person, and I still am, of course, because, you know, I have my little Phoebe. She's over here in her puppy bed. But Sassy and Sissy both have really turned me into an old cat lady. Huh, Sassy? But anyway, I wanted to come on and let you guys know about how my test went and what the results were. And I just dread talking to my doctor. I was talking to a friend earlier, and she said, well, it was Eva, and she said, I hope you hear from your doctor tomorrow. I was like, I hope I don't. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear from her. I don't want to, you know, I don't want to get in the car and go to an appointment in Shreveport right now. Like, you know, I have something going on every week with a doctor's appointment, a doctor test, a doctor's visit, or, you know, something going on, lab work, or getting a port flushing, or there's always something going on. So I'm okay with not having an appointment for a while and not having to go and do every little test and thing. I need a break. I just need a break because it gets to be too much. When you have chronic illness, and if you're new here and you don't know, I do have scleroderma, lupus, Sjogren's, Raynaud's. You know, I've lost 7 fingers due to Raynaud's. I have actually 2 ports in my chest. One of them wasn't working, and they put a new one in, but left the old one, and now the old one started working again. So I have 2 ports in my chest, I have the G-tube in my stomach, and I have a pain pump on my right side that gives me morphine continuously 24 hours a day. So I have a lot going on. I really do. And chronic illness is not for the weak. You have to be strong to deal with all these chronic illnesses and to fight each day and to get through every day. But then the appointments and all that stuff that goes along with all this, it gets overwhelming. It gets to be too much. And then all the medications, it gets to be too much. And my feedings for my feeding tube, there's just a lot. It's a lot that going on, and it does get overwhelming and just is a lot to deal with. And sometimes when I get overwhelmed like that, when stuff is just bombarding me and I'd shut down. When it gets to be too much, I just shut down and kind of block it all out. And that's not a good thing to do, but sometimes I just have to because it's too much and it's an overload. But that's just part of it, I guess. But, you know, having these chronic illnesses is not for the weak. You can't be weak and have all this. You got to be strong to deal with it all. To deal with everything. So here's Chester, my Cheeto cat. I was going to see if they care about him. Uh-oh. I don't think they do. I think they're ready to go to bed. They're probably like, why is this woman sitting there running her mouth? We could be in the bed. But I wanted to let you all know that I'm still here. That's the way my test went. And I'm not happy about it at all. I can't believe my stomach only emptied 10% in all that time. You know, I expected it to be delayed, a slow emptying or whatever you call it. I expected it to be slow, but good grief, I didn't expect that. That's a lot. That's too much. But I guess I gotta pull my big girl panties up and deal with it. I don't want to, but sometimes we gotta do things we don't want to do. We'll see how it goes. But I thank you all for caring and just coming by and checking on me. I appreciate that so much. I know Sissy appreciates it because it gives her a little break. And she don't have to worry about me there for a moment. There's a moth, a little bitty tiny moth flying around. Sassy, Chester was coming to pet you, okay? You alright with that? She don't care. I'll see you all in the next video. I have some crochet stuff planned out. I just gotta get up and go get my material, my yarn and stuff like that, and get to work on it. Thank you so much for coming by and checking on me, guys. I appreciate you all very much. You give me the strength to keep going, and I appreciate that. Remember, it's a beautiful day to crochet or do anything else that brings you joy. Life is too short to work on projects that don't bring you joy.